welcome to another kerfuffle webinar, and I am delighted to have the very orangey, almost Trumpian Jez from
I wondered why you wanted me to keep that light.
Yes, you wondered why now. It was all a big trick. So is this a protest? Are you going to be orange for the next few months while they count,
Yes.
count the votes?
Yeah, recount.
Count those votes. Except in that state, except in Atlanta. Anyway, yeah. Right, matey, good stuff. Well, look, obviously tremendously good to have you on. You were part of a bit of an unusual shout-out at EA Masters recently, where we, obviously, congratulations, first of all, in the top 40 there and in the top 10. Which were you in the top 10 of? Was it
times two?
Was it times two? Times two, which of course it has to be because CRM is such a fundamental part of any business. But it was an interesting one because actually it was given to a combination of the CRM companies that I felt really were now starting to really deliver on the promise of being more open and delivering open APIs and all these various different ways of essentially giving the clients what they want, exposing it. But I made the point that Agent OS, look, I'm not going to say whether you were the first or not. That's for you to fight with Justin and Trevor and everything else. I'm not even going to start raising the question.
I fancy my chances in that fight, you know.
No, look, I fancy your chances with anyone. I've seen those of yours. But it's absolutely, as far as I'm aware, you were the first company to really start going down this route of delivering, of just really, of getting there, listening to what the clients have said, and rather than see it as a pain in the arse, which of course it absolutely is, it's a massive, people don't seem to understand the work that goes into opening up these CRM systems, but you genuinely saw the bigger picture in terms of what that's going to achieve. Do you want to just talk us through that and what your mindset was at the time in terms of that? Because I mean, you will have been like us previously. There will have been hundreds of suppliers, or dozens, hundreds of suppliers who were just, knocking at the door, wanting to get access to the platform, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's funny. I've just seen all over Facebook memories of a famous trip about 5 years ago to New Orleans, which I seem to remember was particularly special. But it was actually there that we realised what was necessary, because at NAR, we saw such a sort of fragmented tech setup in the US with tons of smaller suppliers. I mean, loads of them, but then a handful of the incumbent CRM providers. And what was noticeable, as only the Americans can manage, was the fact that exclusivity was a massive part of that. So if you wanted to use a particular small supplier, you were absolutely forced to use a particular CRM to go with it. And we came away from that with two things. One, that we felt that was probably going to be the way things went in the UK in terms of that sort of supplier makeup, but that we needed to make sure it was possible to do it in a very British way, which is not about exclusivity, it was about openness. So that's when we started the project of building the API layer within the system, and we're talking 2 user interfaces ago, so we're going back quite a way. And it was a big challenge because there's so much information, so much data sitting inside all the CRMs that when you create a layer of to create access to that data, you suddenly become mortally aware of the fact that there's a ton of data and not every supplier wants everything. So we ended up having tiered levels of access, and that's really been the ongoing development from that point. And as it's evolved, we've got specialist tiers for specific types of suppliers. We've got bespoke tiers that have been built specifically for some of our clients, particularly corporate clients who want a very specific set of data for their own reporting tools. Just last week, chatting with a big data company about what they can do for one of their clients who are a developer. So there's an awful lot of opportunity, and the challenge, I think, for us all is how do you resource it? How many people is enough people to resource it? And the answer is it's never enough. There's always more to be done. But it's been really interesting going through that. And lockdown has sort of polarized the focus on that in quite a significant way as well. So a lot more new suppliers coming out of the woodwork and wanting to chat around data. And then for ourselves, it's been a big focus on our app development, which is something that sort of started towards the end of last year, conceptually, and we wanted to just build essentially a mobile diary. Not very exciting, something that probably should have done years ago, but we just recognized that it was something that had to be done. That's how it started, but it became clear incredibly quickly that was really the very least that we needed to be doing, and so that now has led into a complete change in strategy, which really started right at the beginning of the year, to build role-specific apps for our client base. So we have a negotiator app that's live, that's being used, and I suppose in beta and being tested by the client base, those who want to dive in and use it. It started with diary access, appointments, access to property information. So very, very simple things, but it's leading into managing offers and tenancy applications, potentially taking payments if we decide to go down that line, but also prospecting. And being able to access that information in the palm of your hand. A bit like, I always looked at Salesforce as sort of being the ultimate CRM, but even the Force app isn't everything. You don't get everything. It's just not possible to put what are essentially enormous databases into something on the palm of your hand. It's about finding what the specialist views are that are required for that person. We felt being role-led gave our clients the best chance, or the users of the software the best chance of being successful in their roles by having user-specific apps. So there's an owner's app that's been wireframed, and we've seen the first bits of work on that, which is really about performance management and the figures, and bringing that sort of information into the palm of owners' hands. We've talked about agent pay, so that's our finance app, which is it's great. So we've got 15, 16 people using the service right now. So it's very early days with agent pay. It's been very sort of softly pushed. So that's starting to build momentum as well. So
I think it's a really interesting angle going down the, certainly the role-based thing. I can see why that would work so well there. But the overall strategy and the benefits that gives you, some people would ask, some silly people, of course, would ask, why don't you just build that essentially into the core system there? Is it because you can keep it more self-contained if you build it as an app that you can make the journey that much easier? What are some of the benefits from keeping it in that kind of part of the system?
You're right in terms of keeping it separate. We've got a full-time app developer, and I don't think it would be a surprise if that expands in the not too distant future. We develop in Amplify, so everything in our, without getting too techie now, everything is in an Amazon ecosystem from our perspective. And Amplify is a fantastic platform that Amazon provide for app development. And what it means is that we can be building apps completely independent and unreliant on core software development. So we don't have to take our core developers away from the core product. Yes, exactly, and it means that our ability to create apps more quickly, which have all the key functions that you would require in doing your role in the business, can be got out much faster than you would if you required core development. And it's not very exciting, but one of the most important things for our core developers to do is to manage the infrastructure of the software. And that's completely unsexy and not exciting, but it's absolutely essential. The last thing you want is to have your CRM hanging when you're trying to, add a diary appointment, for example.
We've seen plenty of shiny things, haven't we, that look the bit of the years.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that it's nice to have the shiny things as well. But with the core development, it takes a lot longer to deliver that. By building in the app environment, it means that we're able to get that out very quickly, get people using it very quickly. We can run things in beta for a lot longer because we need people using things to give the feedback to then improve, change, evolve. And so that really is sort of the future. The other interesting thing I think we talked about possibly when we did our first chat at the beginning of lockdown was the open banking connections, and that's really started to take off now internally. So we got ourselves FCA regulated and started plugging in people's client accounts into open banking, and that's now sort of racing away with the client base starting just to see the real benefit of just plugging in and having their own live bank account sitting inside the CRM. So for those who don't want an outsourced service or using ours or anyone else's outsourced account service, they want to continue to maintain their own client accounts. They're able to do it just by clicking a couple of buttons, and then they've got their own live bank account sitting inside the system, and that's really started to push forward as well. And a lot of that has come as a result of a sort of change in support focus that we've had, moving towards a more it's a horrible expression, the client success model of providing support, so that we're proactive in what we do rather than reactive, which is sort of the more traditional way of dealing with support issues.
And today they've got their third conference of the year out. But do you anticipate then, just in the same way when they unleash the App Store, that you're going down this app-based route will lead to more innovation, and indeed, not just internally, but seeing external providers, stepping up to the mark for that?
Undoubtedly, yeah. We've had our normal release cycles for the core system is 4 to 6 weeks, something like that. So it's a pretty swift regular releases. The last cycle is pushing on towards sort of maybe 12 weeks at the moment. We're doing a complete UI overhaul, UX overhaul, and introducing some nice dashboard features, WhatsApp chats. But so that's something that will be able to use WhatsApp from within the system for communication purposes, albeit using the WhatsApp web integration. So, and I was chatting last week after your webinar with Paul from Stitch about what we can do working with them, because we've created the API connection, and so we can plug potentially into something like Stitch to get conversations back into the CRM. So there's some great opportunities there, but the interesting thing about the new UI is it's dashboard led, which we haven't been in the past. So the idea that you where you start your day, it tells you what you need to do, and you always come back to that same single dashboard. But within that dashboard environment, there is a button that says apps, and if you click on the apps button, currently it's just our own apps because we're proving concept. But all the apps that we provide, it's a QR code on your phone, click, bang, there we go. You've got your app ready to go and signed in. So that's interesting, because what it's also given us the ability to do is to create app views inside the CRM. So whilst it's not there to be used yet, we've done some proof of concept in a testing environment whereby we may be able to, in the future, I'm going to say may, allow people to choose what their system looks like, in as much as if you prefer the look and feel of the app diary system, then there should be no reason why you can't use that app diary system inside your core CRM when you're accessing on a desktop. So there's a huge change to what underpins the system at the moment, so that we can move into that sort of world where we don't dictate, we give more choice.
Well, I mentioned the phrase a couple of times, didn't I, in terms of liberating it, and actually it sounds like that's really spot on, because it's liberating your tech resource to be able to do stuff. It's liberating the clients, the suppliers to be able to integrate. All of this is just very positive, isn't it, in terms of stopping what used to be, going back literally just 5 years ago, very some quite solid systems, but that was pretty much how it worked, like it or lump it, wasn't it? That whole element is changing now.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if we see what are the last of the old generation. I'm going to include us in that, even though we've only been around since 2004. But of estate and letting agent software packages, which is what a lot of us are or were, and we're all having to evolve from that. And if we see the next generation of true CRM coming to the marketplace, so the guys like, it's Agent Hub, who the Facebook I know Agent Hub's driven by Facebook. There's another, I can't remember. That's embarrassing. Know your competition, they tell you. And then what Heather's doing at Spectre. There's some really interesting things. People have come with the advantages of having access to new technology, coming into a marketplace that's got some very well-established old providers out there. We've all built very solid, robust products, but we're all having to very, very quickly change our approaches in order to still be relevant moving forward. And I think that's it's what we've ended up doing, and it's certainly one of the motivations for the change. Because I just don't see the sort of older estate and letting agent software packages being relevant in the next perhaps a year or two even, simply because there's so much prop tech out there that does niche parts of the customer journey so well that you don't necessarily need to have a single system that does everything now. And with the changes in technology, with the openness now that even some of the providers who historically weren't that open, they're changing how they approach connectivity, communication between different systems. So it makes an awful lot of sense that you would try then to go out to market and find the best thing to, I don't know, manage property maintenance. Let's use Raj and Fixflow as an example. That's a really good one. Why would you choose to use anything other than that if you had the choice of having everything connected together? And it's a bit of a holy grail. We're all approaching it in a different way, but with the common goal, which is, I guess, connecting everything ultimately.
It's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because it's all changed from, and it really was not long ago, where people were trying to do the kind of the Lord of the Rings approach, one system to rule them all, isn't it? Building up one system that will do absolutely everything, and actually that's broken down quite quickly because actually nobody's really thinking that they're going to have one system that does everything and does all elements of a state agency or lettings agency process in the best possible way. The only thing that matters to most of these people, however, is that they are linked together and you're avoiding the old rekeying, which of course is just the enemy of efficiency and productivity, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really challenging bit of or a big problem that we've all got in the tech side of things. That how do you create the capacity to connect everybody and make it as easy as possible? And the answer is you just need more people, more coding. There's never enough, and I think we're all in a different place in regards to the speed that we're able to get things out the door. It again reinforces one of the reasons we've focused very heavily on the app environment, simply because it gives us capacity to get more out internally, but it also ultimately will give third parties the ability to plug in a lot easier as well. And we're just having to prove the concept at the moment. Once that happens, it's a very simple way of connecting to the database, and it throws up opportunities for agents to do it themselves as well. And
I was just going to ask about that. We've got Christian from the depository on, and of course you've got Kai with Area. A lot of different agents now frustrated at what their perception of what CRMs or systems should be doing are going out there doing it for themselves, as the song goes, and actually this opens up the potential that it can still integrate with their main CRM system, which is fantastic, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, there's no question. Not every agent has an IT company working with it, so there's also opportunity out there for some of the IT providers, not necessarily those that are offering specific systems, but those that are offering general support services. If there's some coding knowledge, then you should have the ability to work with the data inside our systems anyway. It's just a question of having the imagination to come up with what it is you want, and there's no reason. I'm seeing more and more of it now. I've got a conversation this week with a company who I think they do some work with Savills, and it is just about reporting. It's about getting data out in real time to give real time information over huge swathes of data. And we're just having a quick chat about what they can access, what they can see, and then they're going to go away and have a think about what could we do with this information to be of benefit to agents. And that's a really interesting way of approaching a problem. Let's not try and guess what the problem is. Let's have a look at all the data, see what we can get, and then make a decision thereafter. And we're seeing more and more of that happening now. And we've talked before about things like Zapier.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a lot more with triggers for Zapier as well, just because there is a hunger, I think, for agents to start doing more work themselves, creating their own workflows and making the decisions on what they want to use. So if we all as an industry get together and start creating triggers and connections with things like Zapier, then theoretically we could all be talking quite easily, at least around core data sets.
Been an eye-opener for me, Jez, not least because I've just realised that even digitally, you sit about 2 feet above me. I'm a short even on digital media, which is not a good place. Also, I'm really relieved that you told me what went on at the NAR conference 4 years ago, because of course I famously failed to make
I do remember that. I do remember Manning's bar being particularly popular.
I remember him leaving me on the floor as he went off to have a great day. And Amy's just reiterating, morning Amy, she's just talking about, obviously all this is just reiterating that, of course, it's all about, what's best for the clients. And whilst that, it sounds like a trite statement in itself, you're out there doing it, which is the main thing. The neg app, you're just making the point again, links back into the main system so that nothing is missed when you're out on the road. I mean, ergo, you are turning these people into real mobile warriors, which of course, even more so now when we're all out of the office, is on top of your natural cloud ability, is fantastic as a productive tool. And then finally, I'll leave you with this one, because this is more, I think this is more a post-watershed request.
Oh,
Can you say sexy and CRM again in the sentence? So
Graham, CRM is very sexy.
Thank you. That's my first webinar of the day, and I already feel dirty.
Well, yes. It's refreshing seeing you at this time in the morning, having got up.
Yeah, well, yes, I'm good like that. I told you my problem is I've watched so much CNN these last few days that I've actually got jet lag now.
Yeah, I know how you feel. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
You would do. They've had to tear you out the White House to make this webinar. Yes, thank you very much. That's really. We'd love to have I think we'll have a more in-depth chat on that as well, because obviously there's a lot going on with you guys. And again, we reiterate to anyone, go and have a look at the landing page for Agents OS on the Kerfuffle website. See the great reviews from some great agents. Sorry, I'm just giggling there. Graham Wilson makes the point, the Barry White of suppliers. I truly hope that's not rhyming slang there, Graham, because we won't tolerate that sort of shit here.
Barry White and not Barry Woods.
Brilliant, mate. Thank you very much. Have a great time. Best of luck with everything.
Cheers. Thanks. Yeah.